want me to call her a whole American slur? You want me and my southern behind to be calling her a whole slur? Let me get into this. And I know the cognitive dissonance about to be crazy for some of y'all, but this is insane. And I cannot believe that we're here in 2023. So this is singer Tyla. She has a song Water. She's from South Africa, and I believe she's mixed race. And I don't know all the races she's been mixed with, but it's like a lot of European, and then like it seems like some of the Caribbean islands, as well as maybe some South Asian. And recently, people have been saying that she's black. And apparently the South Africans are up in arms about it, calling her colored. And it's jarring for me and my people, because
What's up, everyone? I'm going to be talking about the artist Tyla from South Africa and how people have been debating over how she identifies. I think it's really interesting how a lot of Black Americans try to force people how to identify. I think it's one thing to say that we don't want to be colored or we don't like the term colored for various like socio-political reasons of the United States, but colored has been a racial category in South Africa for a while. So today I'm just going to talk about that, and then I'm going to read probably an excerpt from the article, and I'm just going to give like my general opinion of this furthermore. So now I'm going to talk about race and ethnicity in South Africa. In 1795, the British took over the Cape of Good Hope, and they continued with racial segregation. The concept of race became a particularly explosive idea during colonization, as well during the Apartheid period, which began in 1948. Race is defined as a social concept referring to a group of people who share distinct and similar physical characteristics. During the Apartheid period, the government introduced numerous legislations based on racial classification in South Africa. South Africa is a multiracial democratic country which embraces its diversity. Symbolically, the image of the Rainbow Nation was made popular by Archbishop Desmond Tutu in 1994. That's how they choose to identify biracial people as colored. Whereas in the United States, colored was kind of categorized as like a subhuman name. It's like, it basically means you kind of had no rights in the United States. And when we think about segregation in the United States, again, it wasn't like the best term. It was just kind of like, you're just here, you exist, and anyone who is colored doesn't deserve respect. And so, again, Tyla, having to be from South Africa as someone who is biracial and or mixed, does identify as colored because in her country, she's also considered colored. In South Africa, there have like 4 racial categories. Black African, which is a category that includes people of indigenous African descent who make up the majority of the population. White, this category includes people of European descent who make up a minority of the population. Colored, this category includes people of mixed race, typically those with African, European, and or Asian ancestry. Then there's Indian. This category includes people of Indian descent who make up a smaller minority of the population. And so Tyla is like a young woman who, again, is from South Africa. I'm not gonna lie, when I first heard her, I thought she was from Nigeria. I didn't pay any attention to her. It's just the sound kind of reminded me of like a Nigerian artist. Hearing her again, she kind of reminds me of Rihanna. She kind of has that image like being mixed or appearing to be mixed like Rihanna did. And her sound to me is more pop. Sony pretty much bought her out of her record deal. And so now she has like a Sony USA record deal, which she was bought off her previous contract for $2 million. And I do think she has a lot of global appeal. And when it comes to like just being biracial and mixed, the music industry, a lot of people do like, again, being between both worlds, or to me, that's how the music industry tries to market it, because they have a broader appeal, I guess, to audiences. So some people might think that, oh, well, she can look like me, or you know what I mean? Like, people feel more related. To me, it seems like mixed people, not only do they have like a beauty aesthetic in a sense, but they can market to Black and white or mixed demographics. And so now I'm going to read the complex article, or at least an excerpt from it. It says, singer-songwriter has been getting attention in the United States from her hit song Water, which peaked at number 18 on the Billboard Hot 100. She has a string of popular tracks on TikTok, as well as a nomination for Best African Music Performance at the 2024 Grammy Awards. Some fans have expressed shock to learn that she identifies as colored, a term that can be used in South Africa for those of mixed ethnicity. The term colored, as I stated earlier, has a different connotation in the United States. Racist categorization, and prominently during the Jim Crow era, used to aggregate people, which explains why some Western listeners have questioned its usage. There was a South African journalist who spoke about it in September when she talked about colored is a term that identifies a community who have cultivated a culture, language, and overall identity that wasn't related to their segregation, but rather to identify the newly established community. I think it's important to realize that though I speak of Blackness, a lot of people speak of Blackness in the United States, that everyone doesn't view Blackness the same. I think what's interesting too is that the United States has such an influence. And I do feel like we are socialized to think that the United States is the greatest country in the world and just be like super ethnocentric or Americanized, that often we don't think of like people outside of ourselves. So sometimes I don't even try to talk about other countries or other issues because I do want them to speak for themselves. But even on YouTube, which is like an American global industry, and the fact that the United States has the highest GDP in the world, I think that people pay attention to us. So sometimes I have to even check myself because there are people in my comments and forget that there are watchers from like different countries. They'll like say something about how I talk about Blackness. And again, it is my right to view Blackness how I do. But I think it's important to talk about context. And in this context, Tyla is a colored woman from South Africa. That's how she chooses to identify. Now, would I ever probably call someone colored in the United States? I probably wouldn't. I would just call them by their name because I know that colored here does have like a negative connotation. It just reminds like people of the old racist history in the United States. So that's all I pretty much wanted to say about this topic. Let me know what you think down below. Do you like Tyla's music? What do you think about her? Does she remind you of Rihanna? You think that she has like a totally different musical vibe? And thank you for listening to Books and Looks TV. I'll see y'all next time.
What the hell you mean by that? I am from the South. I'm from Texas. My daddy from Georgia. My mama from Mississippi. So that is again a racial slur from where I hail from. And I want to be quick to say too, I'm not trying to ignore the fact that she identifies as a mixed person. I get that. I completely understand. I have no problem calling her mixed. I have no problem making sure to identify her as such. But at the same time, as an American from the South, like hell, I'm going to call her that. And why the hell am I going to listen to some people who had an apartheid say, I get it. America has their own issues too, but let's not forget. Why am I going to listen to y'all tell me that I have to call her that? Again, it's a slur where I'm from. What? And I didn't understand what was going on with my mutual like a couple months ago when she was like, we're going to be here in like 2 to 3 months and everyone's going to be up in arms. God damn, she was right. If she had $1 for every time she was right, she'd be a millionaire. She'd be competing with Jeff Bezos almost by now. And it's not about the erasure of her identity. It is literally about the fact that where she is trying to break into the market now, it is considered a racial slur. There are just certain words that you just don't say. And again, people will call her mixed race if she asks. And I think that her team should really get on their Zoom. They should get on their TikTok live. They should really get on here and explain such, because I feel like I have seen interviews of her kind of lightly touching it because I understand it being a dicey subject, but that is going to open up a catechism of worse, like unneedably worse situations than what's happening right now. But no way, there's no way I'm going to sit up here and fix my face to use a literal racial slur. I will kindly respect her identity, especially since it's already been put into ether. That's how she wants to identify. And also, side note, like people acting like calling her black is a bad thing. Why? Quickly. And also tell me where you were January 6th. Because none of this is inherently bad. Again, if she identifies as a mixed person, completely understand that. But again, she breaking into a new market, which is the US, asking people to call her, and I'm not even going to say it's her. I'm going to say it's her fans. Asking her to be called that is a problem. That's not okay, because one of her little white fans is going to say that and they're going to get out of like a scholarship, going to school, getting the job, all because she didn't come forward, or her team. And it's unfortunate that they have to do that in a way, but to make sure to kind of set this groundwork on an international stage, because she's turning into an international star, congratulations, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem if, again, you're using a racial slur. I don't care if there's a U in it. It's a racial slur still.
I don't have an issue with her being colored. I was talking about this from a PR and marketing level, and I'm just telling you, no black person or white person or anything else in America is going to call that girl colored because of the word's history in America. And when she gets back to South Africa, and if in the UK her PR management team calls her colored, that's fine. But they're just not going to call her that in public out here. It's not happening. It's bad for business. That baby won't make no money. And that's what this is about. And someone in these comments said, I can respect that she's colored, but I don't get why I have to say a word that's a slur in my language. And that makes sense, because you know how in the UK they call the cigarettes the F word? we, like, no one, like, if you called even if you were referring to a cigarette as like the F word out here in America, that's crazy as fuck. It's the same, like, colored with a U, colored girl magic. I have no issue with it, but her team is trying to make her money. And what they're going to do is market her to the people who look like her and are going to relate to her, and the people who listen to her music, which are colored people, black people, mixed people, whatever you want to call them in whatever country you're in. Because at the end of the day, it's all giving the same shit with different names and remixes on what we got going on, because we not in the same place. But she's getting marketed to the motherfuckers who are like herself. So they're going to use the names that the people in this country use. Now, when we back in her country, colored girl magic. Colored with a U. When she's in this country, she's on the cover of Essence. And that's just she's trying to make money. We on here having discourse. We on here going back and forth. She ain't even really talked about this shit. Why? Because she trying to stuff her pockets. She want everybody money. She want the black Americans money. She want the colored people money. I know that's right. Colored and black money.
21-year-old South African artist Tyla has made it very clear that she doesn't identify as black and she prefers to identify as colored because of her mixed race. And this is causing a discourse. And you can only guess who's arguing with her the most, who's upset the most, and the most angry about her saying she's a colored person. Mind you, she's from South Africa. Being a colored person is basically saying you are mixed, biracial, of white and black descent, or Asian descent, I think. And y'all will fight that. Y'all will be angry, but it's the truth. Black American people want to consider everybody black with a drop of black in them. Everybody not black. And y'all get mad at me. And my point is constantly being proven that being biracial and being black is two different things. And when I tell y'all biracial people can't represent black people, y'all get upset. That's not true. You can't tell somebody how black they are. Because these biracial mixed race women or multiracial women are coming out and saying, I don't feel black. I don't walk around as black. I don't identify with black culture, maybe. Whatever they tell you. And y'all will still try to force them to be black. Do you know how dumb you sound to try to force somebody to be black if they're not black? Y'all need to unpack that. Unpack it. I love the fact that she told y'all what she is and she's standing on it. I love that for her. Okay? Because at this point, we can identify her exactly as she is. She don't have to take up black women's spaces. She don't have to be the first black woman who did this. The first black, because she not black. Shout out to Tyla. Your music good, girl.